Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Student of the Game. I am Kyle Nass, the Student of the Game. And listen, if you're here, chances are you like talking sport, and we're glad you're doing it with us here tonight. Listen, this is that lull in the NFL season leading right into the Super Bowl. That's right, the Chiefs and the 49ers have decided it all here. And of course, we're going to be talking about that quite a bit next week. And I really just wanted to more take this time to go over conference championship Sunday. Because listen, I know the powers that be, the talking heads, the lamestream media, such as we know it, have, kind of dissected an element of these things, but there's still so many pieces I feel like that aren't even probably being covered or are even just being dramatically misrepresented. Now let me open with this by saying I'm somebody who regularly consumes Nick Wright. I think he's good at his job. I like that he works for Fox. Listen, the only thing I'm jealous of is if I had happened to evolve into a member of the national media, I would like to work alongside a Colin Cowherd. And for that, I will be forever jealous. All right. Like, that's just the thing. But I open all that to say this. His points are coming tiresomely, not inaccurate, just wrong in certain aspects. And that's why I have to talk about the Chiefs and the Ravens game. Like, listen, there are certain elements that are a commonality. Okay. The Chiefs only scoring 17 points with this guy who even I would submit is on the track to GOAT status at the position, right? I always said that I never thought Tom Brady was the GOAT. He didn't look the part. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm not saying Tom Brady is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I really am afraid that Tom Brady's about to be a badass broadcaster for Fox come next year. Because that's the thing that's happening, folks. Look out for that. For all you Greg Olson haters, for all you Tony Romo haters, another dude about to enter the ring to do some stuff. So maybe you'll like Tom Brady better. I think he would do relatively well, though. I think it would be humorous if Tom Brady ended up yelling. Like, it wouldn't, like, if he ended up in the booth somehow with Joe Buck, I know it won't happen. That's Aikman, but and started just yelling at Joe Buck. Actually, Joe Buck technically is ESPN now, right? They're doing Monday night, whatever. But whoever the big Fox game calling personality, could you imagine like the play-by-play getting something wrong and then Tom Brady just yelling at him? Anyways, I'm getting off track. Let me get back on track. Patrick LeVon Mahomes II is a great player, potentially an all-time great player. If I were asked today who I thought was the GOAT among quarterbacks in the NFL, the answer to me is Patrick LeVon Mahomes II. Now, people would use a longevity argument with Tom Brady. I think that's more about the pieces he's had around him throughout his career at the times he was winning, but that's another question. But what's a commonality between Tom Brady and Patrick LeVon Mahomes II? They're supposed to be this great quarterback, which they are. But there's a certain Super Bowl where Thomas Edward Patrick Bieber Brady lost to Eli Manning and the Giants, scoring only 14 points. Right? You'll remember that regarding and following the Tyree catch and all that stuff. The first time Tom Brady lost to Eli Manning. This game, if you had told me 17 points would be enough for the Chiefs to win, I would have been floored. But Kyle, the Ravens only ran the ball so much. And yeah, listen, I think that's a valid criticism that they should have run the ball more. They were probably, as Nick Wright and other members of the lamestream media would probably say, they were afraid that they needed to create points quickly because Patrick LeVon Mahomes II was probably going to put up more points than 17. He didn't, and that's okay. But, at day's end, that was the expectation. They were probably afraid of that. I think that's a point that Nick Wright makes that's absolutely accurate. But why are we not talking enough about the self-inflicted wounds the Ravens had? Can we please remember, what is it, 3 turnovers, right? A fumble by Lamar Demetrius Jackson, an interception by Lamar Demetrius Jackson, and then the fumble by Zay Flowers that would have at the very least made this a tie game where we would have had extra football, where maybe Patrick Lavon Mahomes II does continue to win. That is all very, very, very plausible and possible. Not going to rule that out. But no one's talking about that. The turnover I have not heard the turnover battle statistic brought up once this week by the biggest Ravens apologist or by the biggest bloatiest Kansas City homer. My guy BP of A7BN Sports hasn't even brought up the damn turnover ratio, which is kind of a crime, really, considering the fact the Kansas City Chiefs are a defensive team now, like I told you, going all the way back to week 2 of this season. The reason why the Ravens lost was self-inflicted wounds. I'm not here to tell you the Chiefs played bad. I just know that there were 2 turnovers in the end zone. Both of them were preceded by a penalty situation where one was Zay Flowers in that taunting ridiculousness. Of course, nobody's talking about the Chiefs player that was pulling on him and he was trying to stand up. Listen, capital gamesmanship, by the way, too. I didn't say sportsmanship, rather I said gamesmanship by the Chiefs, right? They were doing things to rattle this young Ravens team, and the rule of the guy that starts it never gets called applies here hard. A Chiefs player's grabbing on Zay Flowers as he stands up. He gets the unsportsmanlike call, and rightly so. Why do I have to taunt a fool? I just didn't beat him down the field. I'm about to score in your house. I'm threatening your playoff life, and I'm going to taunt you. Doesn't that say more? You want to know what the best damn taunt there is? Bye. Enjoy that spot on the couch. Who are you inviting to the Super Bowl party as you watch me battle? Well, by then they wouldn't have known it was the 49ers, but you see what I'm saying. So, I mean, listen, you can hate the taunting call. You could think it's stupid all you want. Me, I was just that kind of dude. I remember when I was playing, please see behind me if you're watching on the Huddle Up or Sertoba Media YouTube channels or on the Student of the Game Twitch or on Twitter, that painting behind me in my playing days. My favorite moment was getting cheap shotted because I had known I had beaten him. Well, guess what, Ravens? You have 5 penalties like that where you did something stupid because your testicular, intestinal, and mental fortitude was lacking. Again, taking nothing also from Travis Michael Kelce. 10 receptions, surpassing Jerry flipping Rice in playoff receptions. That's a damn stat. Points all over. And listen, I have no problem ripping Travis Michael Kelce over oppressing a kick. You know, like, why you oppress a kicker like that? He's just trying to warm up. Patrick Lavon Mahomes II had a handle. You be throwing helmets and kicking the ball and stuff. You weren't kicking the kicker. This isn't Urban Meyer we're talking about here. But that's more gamesmanship too, right? We've seen Travis Michael Kelce be notorious in years past, right? In a playoff game, throwing a flag back to an official on a call he didn't like. We've forgotten that's happened, I guess. That's a thing. I don't know. Of course, let me throw some shouts to the comments. My guy, Dante Hill, thanks for coming in on TFT, by the way. The Total Football Talk action you brought in was very interesting. I didn't agree with everything you said, but you did make good points. Thank you for that. And, of course, I'm going to bring up TFT. I got to bring up Drew Willingham himself checking in. What's up, my guy? But this fiction that the Chiefs are just imperial and unable to be stopped is just, well, I called it fiction for a reason, folks. Now, here is the key, and this is what I think people aren't accenting enough. One thing the Patriots and the Chiefs do have in common is what I call inelasticity, right? Quick economics lesson. Things that are elastic don't change in price very much if something happens, right? The price of gas typically or something like that doesn't change very much. You know, it takes a war or something for the price of gas to change. Whereas something, a luxury, you know, like It's very easy for the price of, let's say, yachts, I don't know, to change. What homes lately, the price has skyrocketed something stupid. I bought my house for $170,000. Now it's probably worth $400,000. That's an example of an elastic price change. What the hell does this have to do with football? Great question, guys. Listen, the student of the game is trying to give you a lesson. Check it out. The elasticity of the Chiefs' performance, relatively small. Mahomes doesn't turn the ball over. The Chiefs don't make mental mistakes. As a matter of fact, they cause the elasticity of the other team's performance to change by drawing penalties. Please see the Ravens game. Whereas the Ravens' performance throughout the year has an element of elasticity. You had a wildly varying range from the high point to the low point. You could go out and lose to the Colts. No disrespect, Colts fans. You had a fantastic season and well better than what I expected. That's a fact. And then you went out and smoked the 49ers as the Ravens, I think it was back in December. That is a wild level of elasticity. A lack of elasticity, here's a word you'll know better, football fans, consistency. And the Chiefs have a butt ton of it. Obviously, that starts with Patrick Mahomes II. The Chiefs were a number 3 seed, throughout the year. Regular season, pulled off 11 wins with a receiver core that led the league in drops. And they got every ball caught in this game and still managed 17 points. But there weren't mistakes. That's consistency. That's elasticity. People can criticize Lamar Demetrius Jackson all you want. I'm not here to say he had a great performance, but I'm not going to throw him under the bus. The thing of the matter is, most people remember a single throw. That awful late ball he threw, that was interception in the end zone. People want to call it triple coverage. Let's be honest, in my opinion, only the two of the players really had a shot at it. It's still a late throw, a bad decision into at least double coverage that made it an interception. But the previous play, and here's the no call I'm talking about, Odell Beckham Jr. was wearing a cape just as red as Superman with a Chiefs player draped all over his back. No call. If that call is correctly made by the officials, we don't have a Lamar Demetrius Jackson interception, and we probably most certainly have a 17-all game that gets bonus football. If we get both of those back, with a team that is just as consistent and inelastic as the Chiefs, the Ravens win this game. In my opinion, turnovers is really the only place where the Ravens were the weaker squad. Sure, Mahomes had a better completion percentage, but he had a lower yards per play than Lamar Demetrius Jackson. Had fewer turnovers. While the Chiefs ran for 8 more yards, they ran the ball twice as many times as the Ravens. 89 yards rushing versus 81 with 16 more attempts to carry the ball. I've heard the word coaching malpractice used regarding that. I'm not going to go that far because, as I said, the game plan put the players in position to still win this football game, and they didn't. But anybody who acts like running the football wouldn't have been an improved game plan obviously didn't watch the 49ers and Lions game. Oh, there's a transition for you. Inelasticity. Consistency. You could argue the 49ers don't have it because when Trent Williams gets hurt, they lose 3 straight, right? The Lions came out running the football, but they did not remain consistent in running the football. We all saw how dominant the Detroit Lion game was running the ball in the first half. And yet somehow they managed to get Jared Goff to throw the ball 41 times. I scoff at Goff. Did the Niners have a number of lucky breaks go their way? I would say they had as many things go their way to help their momentum as the Ravens had to keep them out of the Super Bowl this year in losing to the Chiefs. And again, taking nothing from the Chiefs, but let's be clear, the Chiefs were consistent and did their job, and they should be given credit, but were ultimately handed the ball for the final dagger to take out the Ravens. The Lions just decided they didn't want to win anymore, it felt like. Key dropped passes on late downs for conversions. The Niners making amazing plays. And I know everybody is going after my dude, Madden Campbell, for his fourth down decisions, right? Two of them where he should have gone for points. And I'll be honest, I would have taken the points. But you can't complain it now because in my opinion, that's what got you here, guys. You can't be critical of Madden Campbell being Madden Campbell and then be like, oh, that guy sucks. I don't understand why he would go for it there. Haven't you watched the whole season, right? Isn't that how they lost to the Cowboys in the first place? What are we doing here? I don't know. Anyways, I got some comments here from Drew and Dante. Let me jump in. Bring Drew in here. He says, I agree with that one, but still don't see the PI on the trip coverage. Yeah, I don't think the interception itself had any PI. I'm not referring to that. I know there are those that are screaming that. I'm not in that camp. That's a good point, Drew. For my money, the way that play was set up, in my mind, the officials looked like they kind of treated it like a Hail Mary pass, but no, I'm glad they kept the flags in their pocket. That's a good point. Yeah, Lamar Demetrius Jackson's interception, I would not have thrown the flag. So Dante comes in. That's interesting. Aren't you a little nervous about playing against the Chiefs and the refs? Listen, here's the thing, and I get the referee defense, right? There were some things that went uncalled, and the penalty numbers favored the Ravens. I made the comment, I believe, on TFT with Drew Willingham, that people are going to get that takeaway from this game that the refs bailed them out. I don't feel like, if you believe the refs were an issue for Patrick Mahomes going in, this game should not have convinced you that it's worse. I'll put it that way. But because the number of flags are what they are, people keep citing the refs. I'm like, guys, you already forgot what referee assistance looks like. The tuck rule, guys. Patrick Mahomes II has not had anything like that in a playoff game that I can remember go his way. Okay, that's just where I live with that, and you know, I'll put it this way: I appreciate that things there are things that involved a call that helped the Chiefs, right? The hot button was to say that the Chiefs didn't deserve the Super Bowl last year, even though the Eagles player admitted to holding the guy. How about this? Don't get beat. But if we're going to bring up officials and calls, after all of the complaining we heard, guys, from, oh, well, the Chiefs, they had that stupid rule where you fumbled it out of the end zone and you get penalized by losing the ball entirely, even though the defense didn't recover it, and we still beat the Buffalo Bills. Yet that very same thing happens to Zay Flowers, nary a damn peep in the lamestream media. No one's talking about that. Where that at? Say that with your chest. And I don't understand why. The game still involves Lamar Demetrius Jackson. The game still involves Patrick Mahomes II. Are you not entertained? If it affects either one, why is that not in the narrative? I don't know. But you know, look at what do I know? I'm just a student. of the game. But Dante, not to dodge your question, that's when I'm more inclined to answer next week when we're getting up there. I'm not going to do a true Super Bowl preview because the whole thing's a damn week away and someone could still get injured in practice or something. God forbid. I don't want to see that, obviously. But yeah, I'll be glad to say, Dante, that next week I'll address that very thing here on not only the Student of the Game podcast, but probably the Huddle Up podcast as well. Bing! Anyways. See, true, but good coaches adjust their play calling in situational moments. He should have adjusted after the first misconversion. So, sure. If you want to say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, stop it, man, Campbell. Cool. I don't have an argument for that. I would, please the court, I would remind everybody that the reason why the Lions ended up with a 17-point lead is that he did opt to take the points on a fourth down to make the game 24-17. In full disclosure, Man Campbell in the game at some point did take the points. He just didn't do it enough. That being said, we're talking he had 3 opportunities to take points and did it 1. If your argument that wasn't enough, I mean, sure. First of all, Captain Hindsight, Second, I'm not going to say that to you necessarily, Drew. I know that's a factor for some. I believe you and I would both be screaming at the TV, take the damn points. I'm on record doing it plenty of times in football games. I'll do the tweet before the kick, or I'll shout at my buddies, or I'll record something. I want the record to show I said take the points before it was cool. I don't need South Park, superheroes from South Park episodes making their president know, look, up at the sky. It's a Captain Hindsight. We don't need that. And Dante here weighing in on Bruce Campbell. I don't blame Campbell for going for it. I blame him for having an unprepared and unfocused team in the second half. I'll nitpick your semantics, Dante, but I like what you're putting down there. I don't think they lacked focus unless you're thinking they started up the bus early mentally and went home thinking they had the game won. If that's what you mean, you nailed it, kid. I like it. I also cited kind of the game plan. In what world where you're ending up with Jared Goff throwing the ball 41 times? I scoff at Goff. Not for the reasons a lot of people think. Listen, I think game manager being used as a slur against a quarterback is just a showing of an unrefined football mind. And yes, I'm implying some, what's his word? I'm implying some of my peers fit that category in that particular instance. I mean no offense, and I'm not naming names, but if you think I'm talking about you, I'm not doing it to focus on you, okay? But yeah, I there's certainly a lack of resolve in that particular instance, Dante. I think that goes beyond saying, man. No, you got a couple banger points, as the kids would say, right? No, I'm with you on what you're throwing down there. There's a lot of smart stuff. I gotta chuckle at this, so I'll share it. I would definitely shout, take the point. Oh, Drew Willingham. I have no doubt that you would raise your voice to see to it that that the point would be taken, whether it's Man Campbell or anybody else. I'll say this, with the Super Bowl coming up, you will expect a couple names to get dropped by me that aren't typically dropped. It'll be the kind of thing that will come up in the Super Bowl because it's given the extra scrutiny. But for me, and I alluded to this, if you will, on TFT with Drew Willingham. Bing! Shouts to Cole Johnson, by the way. I hope he got his situation figured out. But I think Chris Jones is an X factor in this game. If you see him disrupting the backfield often, if he gets more than 3 tackles, if he gets more than 2 tackles for loss and at least 2 sack/turnover, meaning like if he gets a sack and a recovered fumble, or if he gets 2 recovered fumbles, or if he gets 2 sacks, whatever. The number for Chris Jones is 2. If he gets more than 2 of those things, I would find it incredibly difficult for the 49ers offense to put together a winning effort. And I'll be clear about this. For all I've said about Brock Purdy not being a league MVP, not even being a 49ers MVP, I'm not going to go full Cam Newton. Bro, he's the 10th best player on his team. Stop. Like, I like Kyle Juszczyk. I think Brock Purdy's better than him, right? And by the way, let's remember Brock Purdy is a second-year player. We don't know if he's better than these other guys yet. At this time in Tom Brady's career, Tom Brady was struggling, right? Actually, by this point, he had started to actually go on the rise and recover from struggling early in his second starting year. So, a little bit of context there for you, Cam Newton and football public. So, I don't know. This one's going to be a relatively short one, folks, because I don't have a guest next week. And I know sooner than later we'll be focusing more on basketball. But ladies and gentlemen, the mother-loving Super Bowl is upcoming. Enjoy your skills contest during this week and the Pro Bowl and the like if you're into that sort of thing. Me, I'll be probably taking the time to have my kids remember what my face looks like, he said jokingly. They've had plenty of time. The Jags missed the playoffs. So, of course, with all that in mind, listen, in honor, joy, and privilege to have all of you aboard. Special thanks to Drew Willingham and Dante Hill for jumping in. Special thanks again to Drew Willingham and Cole Johnson for letting me jump in and substitute for TFT there. Listen, I have no problem being the Doug Gottlieb of this group and being asked to sub in. Granted, I think I'm more, I don't think Doug Gottlieb is annoying, but I hope people think I'm less annoying than he is, because apparently he gets a lot of hate. I don't know why. But anyways, enough about Doug Gottlieb. Enough about this show. And listen, an honor, joy, and privilege to talk to you all. Special thanks also too from Mark Moses throwing the like there on Facebook. But until next time, everybody, we're talking about the Super Bowl here. Class dismissed.